All right. Thanks for coming, guys. So I'll just make a short introduction, and then we can dive into bilateral cooperation between Belarus and Lithuania. So maybe I'll start from my left. So on my left, I have Elena Fironova, investment associate at Eventures. Hi, Elena. Hello. Next is Daniel Ray, who's from United States, co-founder and CEO of many things. And right now he's just starting a new startup called Silo. And he has been residing in Lithuania for past 7 years? More than past 7 years, and previously lived in Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, and everywhere else. All right. Next is Mindaugas Glodas, managing partner at Nextury Eventures from Lithuania. Yes? Yes. All right. Next we have David Roberts, international business consultant from United States, who has also lived extensively in our region, in Estonia, has been to Lithuania a few times, in Belarus, right? All right. And then we have Flank from Belarus. So I'll try to pronounce your name correctly. I haven't tried it the Belarus way. So it's Hauril Smaharsowski. All right. You can correct me later on. Co-founder of Global Belarusian Leaders, and also president of a Lithuanian chapter. And then we have beautiful-looking Nastya Kamenkova, co-founder of Bel.biz, a portal for business news in Belarus, and also I'm Guru co-working space in Minsk. Yes? Yes. All right. And finally, Andrei Nadbalsky, co-founder and CEO of Worksoft Bench mobile and web development company, and is also cooperating with partners in Lithuania and United States and so on. So just short round of applause for guys coming around. Yay! So every constructive dialogue about Lithuania and Belarus should start with compliments. So let's start with what do you guys see as main benefits of our startup ecosystems, you know, having in mind all the technical talent, etc. So, and you all have been traveling extensively and been to you know, other countries and places. So what are the advantages of being in our region in Belarus and Lithuania?
I'll take that one. So I've worked with a number of companies in a number of different countries, and I've seen a lot of the differences in not only the way that developers here approach problems, but the way that they not only approach them, but go after them, like actively seek them. And that's actually one thing that's really unique about this region between Lithuania and Belarus. You have guys that are going in actively seeking problems, actively seeking challenges. That's the first thing. The other thing is there's a very high density of technical talent. The amount of technical talent per capita in, let's say, in Minsk or in Vilnius is actually higher than in Silicon Valley. Right? There's not as large of a talent pool, but it's higher per capita, and that's actually very, very interesting. It seems that the system of education is really focused on creating a lot more entrepreneurs, right? In technical entrepreneurs.
I'll take that as a personal compliment.
There you go. And the last thing is that is very, very open to change, and that's something that's really impressed me about the region. Is very open to new ideas, very open to change, not only the ideas themselves, but quickly applying them.
Elena, you want to?
Yes, I mean, I can only add that, I mean, I can tell for Russian region that from the venture capital perspective that every time we see some team from Belarus or from the Baltics, there is a very huge interest to this team because of this technological and technical background. Like venture capital funds are very interested in looking at the companies coming from here. So, and this is of course I think the advantage of course the education and of course the startup community. So good job, guys.
Thank you. Mindaugas, you seem eager to add something.
Yeah, always. you said that we extensively travel between the two countries and so on, and I have a confession to make. Last time I was in Belarus was back in 1995, which I'm not very proud of, but that's a true fact, right? And I don't think I'm very much alone with such a story, right? Somehow Minsk is just 200 kilometers away from Vilnius. It's actually closer than our Klaipėda and our coast, but we don't go there often. However, I travel there often in my thoughts and in different discussions through the engagement with EHU University, European Humanities University, and through also during the discussions we had through Infobalt organization. I believe that in fact, Lithuania and Belarus, back in the Soviet days, were quite known for making clones for DEC machines, for IBM machines and others. There's a lot of engineering talent still left, but what's most importantly is that there's an engineering educational ecosystem still there, which is doing very well. I think it's actually doing even better in Belarus than in Lithuania. I know a number of companies who are over 1,000, over 2,000 people employed by these large corporations, programmers, IT architects, all sorts of people that today use their potential within, let's say, the large corporation ecosystem. And I've been looking into that, and at least my own analysis is the startup ecosystem in Belarus is yet behind the development stage that we have in Lithuania, but with a much greater potential. It's a 11 million people, 9 million people country, right? 9 million people country. Yeah, and the comment was produces 60,000 engineers each year. So this is an amazing potential, which being neighbors, we should find a proper, mutually beneficial way to cooperate. We should use the, the geographic and the political positioning of Lithuania that we are part of the EU, and we should actually help to get that Belarusian talent out of the country, not only selling their labor, let's say, as a service, which is a good thing to learn something, but really to start productizing that knowledge and bring money into the country.
Cool. Maybe you can pass the microphone to Nastya, because she was already started talking about how many engineers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Could
Go
I
ahead.
start? First, about Belarus and Lithuania, as you see me here, and I represent Belarusians in Lithuania, I would say it's quite enough of them even here who quite integrated for now in Lithuanian society. And if we are talking about Belarusians who are living in Belarus, they're quite interested in going international, and going international not to Eastern Europe, not to Russia, not to Kazakhstan, but to this side. But for them it's essential to receive this support, I would say, from locals, receive this information, this mentorship, how to develop their programs, their skills, how to implement their skills here in Europe, and it's essential for these people to have that, and then they will come.
Thanks, Gabriel.
In Lithuanian language, Belarus is Baltarussia, right? This is like an access to Russian-speaking market, an access to a great market from Europe. And this is the most probably great advantage of our region and of our cooperation together. And also, despite the fact that we have a great pipeline of tech talents, we also have a great outsourcing background, which means that a lot of engineers could start their own business and get some experience in entrepreneurship, and then go global and organize their own startups.
You mentioned a number of engineers that are coming out from universities in Belarus.
It's about 16,000 each year. All the technical universities produce about 16,000.
Cool. Andrei, you work with American partners extensively. So, why do they choose Belarus? Why do they choose, for example, to work with your company? What do they find attractive?
There was many words about technical background of Belarusian developers. So I think that is why usually American partners choose Belarus, Ukrainian, or Russia. So because that country has a strong scientific and development technical background. And about the cooperation, I want to say, for example, Belarus has strong outsourcing history, but startups only starting in our country, and we have technical background, but there are very few people who know how to do marketing, how to do client supports, and these things are very important for every startups. And this is a point where different countries can cooperate.
Sure. David, you being a consultant and from a business and marketing side, what would be your touch? How we can?
Well, I think with the Belarusian tech community is very, very able and low cost. So I think that's very appealing to a lot of companies in the United States that are looking to find solutions while also staying under budget. So obviously coming to Belarus makes a lot of sense. And as far as partnerships go between Lithuania and Belarus, the common history, the very close borders, it just makes perfect sense to go over to Minsk and do some business.
Cool. But how could we reach out to global markets better? How should we position ourselves? Are there any shortcuts in marketing and business that we could use?
Well, I think focusing on the positives with developing in Belarus with the quality and low cost, there's not a price quality heuristic on that. And so making sure that people are understanding that Belarus means quality, and that developing a positive country of origin effect for both Lithuania and Belarus.
Mindaugas, you want to add something?
I'd actually like to add one thing, because I learned it just a couple of days ago, and I was very, very positively surprised. I've spoken to an HR company, and they told me that the time it takes for a foreigner to get work permit in Lithuania has been reduced significantly. It used to be 6 months or close to that of humiliating experience of queuing here and there. I mean, it wasn't easy, but now I heard it only takes 2 months and it's a very smooth process. However, when I spoke to that lady, she said, the funny thing is, now the government with this thing seems to be ahead of businesses. That means that people can come to Lithuania and work here, but the employers are not yet psychologically, mentally ready that they can have foreigners in their teams. And this not only applies to Belarusian citizens, but foreigners in general. And I think this is something we have to change. And I think both countries, Lithuania and Belarus, have a very big opportunity to be the first couple to overcome this mentality challenge and actually have more Belarusians working locally here in Lithuania in their teams. This will be very beneficial, because I really believe, while we are all in the technology sector, right, but virtual communications, they have major limits. I mean, people need to sometimes work together, shoulder to shoulder, to really understand each other better and develop new opportunities. So.
True. By the way, for meeting each other and then finding possible partners, we're going to have a short speed networking session later on. So just everyone who's interested, just hang around, and we're going to go behind the booths and exchange business cards. Coming back to the question, so okay, we said a lot of nice words for each other, for Lithuania and Belarus, and what great techno talent we have, how hungry we are for new challenges and acquiring global businesses and so on. What about the shortcomings, and besides, you know, not being as good in marketing and reaching out to other countries, what are the shortcomings that you see in Lithuania and Belarus, and how a startup potentially could overcome them? So, Daniel, since you started the last one, and you have a startup in Lithuania right now.
Correct. So actually, here's the thing. What I see in a lot of in the region with a lot of these companies, one of the challenges they have is a lack of doing something that's very unique focus, a lack of something that's going to break them out of the region, rather than something that is something that is very focused on solving problems that are local, right? So if you focus only on solving problems that are local, you're going to hit some borders of what you can actually do. So rather than thinking in that way, solving a very global problem in a very, very narrow sense, you're going to be able to cut through that market. A perfect example of this is very recently, about a week ago, one of my friends from the US, he was in Hong Kong visiting his son. He sends me a message saying, hey, I'm in Hong Kong and I'm watching Netflix on, you know, this VPN. And he says, have you ever heard of it? And he says, it's Strong VPN. And I started laughing. I was like, yeah, well, I use it. And I said, it's a Belarusian company, right? And they solved a problem that was very, very focused and did it really, really well, and did it in a very, very unique way. Right? So these are the types of things that I think companies in Belarus, in Lithuania, should really focus on, is very, very narrow, very focused problems, and executing them very, very well. Strong VPN, as an example, no one really knows that they're in Belarus. The way that they are marketing, the way that they're promoting themselves, they've done all the right steps. They've incorporated in the US, they're a US entity. Their engagement with the outside world is through their US entity. All the engineering, all the support, the marketing talent, everything is really in Belarus. But to the outside world, it doesn't really matter where they are, right? They laser focused on solving a very universal problem. So I think that's the challenge that people should be really, you know, looking at.
Well, recently in the news, there was some controversy over the use of Belarusian developers for creating the Affordable Care Act's website. And this was back in the United States, of course. But I think people were more surprised that they actually outsourced the development of that to Belarusian developers. But the shortcoming that I see for Belarus in general is that people have to overcome the country of origin effect for Belarus and develop that further by having successful products and projects completed, like the Affordable Care Act's website. And then people will come to associate Belarusian technology and developers with high quality.
Nasty, you keep bringing all kinds of mentors and advisors from all around the world to Belarus, to Minsk, to kind of overcome this challenge. But what do they say usually when they say to come to Minsk? What is the most often advice to Belarusian startups?
First of all, we didn't consider those challenges like challenges. It's like new opportunities for us to overcome some kind of barriers, first of all. And the second part of your comment, I not very good here. Could you repeat the second part?
Yeah.
Advice for?
Yeah, what so you keep inviting, you know, like David, I heard, is also going to Belarus now, and previously there were like a dozen at least people I have seen who are going to your co-working space in Minsk in Belarus, and they usually come for mentoring. So what do they say to local startups, local Belarusian startups? And I know you're also bringing your startups to Silicon Valley. You're organizing a trip, so. Is that the way to reach out and connect your Belarusian startups to Silicon Valley? And all right.
Okay. I just hear only one part of your question. So, first of all the guests and experts we invite every year to Belarus from Silicon Valley, from Estonia, Finland, which is like Silicon Valley for Europe, Northern Europe. They see a great potential of tech talents and a great potential in international collaboration between Belarusian and European startups. Because promoting our community together with Russia, we could don't feel and don't see those advantages. And promoting our community together with the European community, we are much more close to good ecosystems like in Silicon Valley, like in Estonia, for example. And this could benefit to creating more and more international startups. Like we started last year in 2013, and we started from Garage 48 hackathon. And from 10 teams to now businesses, one of them TrackDuck, and we are very much proud of that because from this point, Belarusian startup community became different. They became think global. They became speak English. And also we invested much, like small business in Belarus, in building startup ecosystem. And this was advice from our experts, from the experts from Silicon Valley we invited for our events. The ecosystem in Belarus consists of several parts. One is international cooperation and collaboration on different platforms like conferences, hackathons, and so on. We also assist to access on international conference like getting visas. Assist, not helping, but try to put in contact with the right people to get visas, to get tickets, to be aware of different conference which is going on abroad Belarus. We also put a lot of efforts in education. We launched Tech Minsk Pre-Accelerator program and is constantly inviting VCs and investors in Belarus, because this is like a separate question about financing and finance support from Belarus. And recently we built Startup Hub in Belarus. So from this time, you guys, Lithuanian startups are invited to come to Belarus to work, to meet people, and we also could assist in getting visas to that. This is like those parts of ecosystem in Minsk. But what is most important is a broad extension to Silicon Valley. I know that because Lithuania is in European Union, you have your representative in Silicon Valley, like Estonia has, and I don't know about Latvia. Also, you have VC funds. Several of them are based on European Union funds, attracting more private capital. In Belarus, we have no VC fund. We have only business angels. Probably I would, if we have time, I would describe more in detail. But if on the government level, we could assist in getting more extension to Silicon Valley, in terms of representatives on the government level, and also for VC present in Belarus, this could benefit our ecosystem more and more. What we could do from our private level, we do. We have everything, I hope.
Thanks, Nasta. So Mindaugas, Elena, here you have, wide open fields and no VC funds in Belarus. Just go over. Elena, so you're coming from a global venture capital fund based in Moscow. Do you expect startups, for example, if you would potentially find someone in Lithuania or Belarus, would you expect them to move, for example, relocate to Silicon Valley or anywhere else, or how do you deal with being far away from a team?
Yes, thank you. That's actually a good question, and many startups ask us, should we move somewhere, or what should we do to get funding from an international venture capital fund? I would say it's not a requirement which a venture capital fund has. Of course, it is better than at some extent, at some point, a startup moves to San Francisco because it has an access to the bigger market, of course, because I've been speaking about the shortcomings of the regions, of the region where we are now, is of course it's a limited market. Yeah, so, and of course, if you want to become an interesting investment opportunity for a big fund, you need to target a big market. And of course, once you're in San Francisco and this Silicon Valley, you get connections to big advertising agencies, or you get connections to other players in the niche where you act, and of course it helps to boost your business. But again, it's not a requirement. It depends on a business model, and speaking about the legal aspect, maybe if it's also important, of course, at some extent, you need to incorporate your company in some regions where the international law is valid. So it just helps the company to attract funds.
Thank you. So, Mindaugas, by the way, talking about Nextury, so far you only invested in Lithuanian startups, but as far as I know, you are looking broader and you're going to expand here. Maybe you can tell more.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have only been established on the 17th of December last year, so we are just 4 months old. We can't yet be present in foreign markets, but definitely it is our plan. So we want to use 2014 to fine-tune our model, to settle on the final model, how we work. We want to produce 10 startups, and once that is validated, say in autumn, late autumn, in winter, we start planning how we go to the next market. Now, really, we thought Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia being our primary targets for potential expansion. Now, with some geopolitical changes, I think Belarus remains one of the close to #1 in the list, and we will definitely look into that.
All right. Gabriel, Nastya, so I guess the next, what should happen, you should invite Mindaugas to Belarus.
Sure.
So, for venture capitalists coming to Belarus right now, so for example, Mindaugas or Elena, what should they keep in mind? What startup ecosystem participants or members they should keep in mind and approach while in Belarus, in Minsk?
Me? First of all, we have several platforms where first produce startups. Sorry for this word. This is hackathons. This is startup schools. We run an international startup school. Also, we have local startup school. And at Imaguru platform, we also have every month pitching session, and we invite a lot of investors for such sessions in order to track startups. And hackathons are the most popular platform to produce startups. It's a pity that not universities and not other educational platforms. And we also organize a series of master classes and competitions, also startup parties, in order to create examples for those who have ideas and going to implement it to startups and give them expertise and education. In terms of education, we have our startup school Tech Minsk. This is 11-week program which connects and match startups teams to mentors and experts from different countries. So those mentors, they contribute much to the development of startups. And of course, at Imaguru, all the pitching competitions are in English. So you have you could easily understand, comment, give feedback, and of course negotiate to startups.
Hey, but listen, Eddy, let me take over for one question as a moderator, because I know that I think you are a pioneer in this, to have the first joint startup between the Lithuanian and Belarusian teams, right? I mean, there's other companies, but real startup that has also been successful raising some funding lately.
Yeah, so we have 3 people here in Lithuania, and we have 3 in Belarus. 2 of my co-founders and one developer, and we're actually expanding our team both in Belarus and Lithuania. So we're talking to potential salespeople who can help us out in both Minsk and Lithuania. So for us, definitely it was a plus from beginning, because once you can explain to a potential venture capitalist that it's firstly that you have, well, straight away you have access to a wider pool of talent, and not only technical talent, but also business development, marketing, where I see that we still lack good product managers, good marketeers in Lithuania, but it's and also maybe in Belarus, but it's kind of changing. So once you have a wider reach to a wider audience, it's always good. Whatever thing would have helped us straight away was being super proficient, in not only in development, but in 3 languages, Lithuanian, English, and Russian. And we do have nearly, over 2,000 Russian-speaking users, so 1,000 something coming from Russia, and then hundreds from Belarus and Ukraine. So for early stage startup, it just gave us an instant boost, accessing multiple countries at the same time. And then, of course, there's just lots of other benefits. For example, that they can easily travel in Russia and other CIS countries, and me having, I can freely roam in Europe. So that always helped us to reach out, to go to conferences, set up business in Lithuania, set up in business in Helsinki, in Finland, which we did first. Was very easy because I'm a European citizen. And then once we needed to go to Yandex event, for example, in Minsk, in Cloud NN conference in Nizhny Novgorod in Russia, that was very, very great that they could just travel there and be like locals.
And I would like to add this, that TrackDuck is a great success story in Belarus. A lot of startups asking me constantly to put in contact with some Lithuanian guys like Eddy to create such products. And I would like to mention also, I saw a representative of Dev.by platform. This is a great developers platform, and they initiated Belarusian IT awards, and TrackDuck this year was awarded like the best product, Belarusian, or I don't know, international product probably.
Well, let's not make this a TrackDuck panel now. So, right, what other questions I had? Oh, so talking about funding and advice for startups from Lithuania and Belarus for funding. David, maybe you can give your thoughts here.
Well, I think there's a lot of interesting venture capital funds in Silicon Valley that would be very interested, especially in startups that have relationships in Lithuania and Belarus. So Also, there's a large community of Lithuanians in Chicago, particularly, that are also interested in investing as well. But like I said before, the Belarusian community needs to get more respect on a global scale, and then those investors will come, especially if they feel like everything's legal and safe, and then investment will follow. But I know several investors and VCs in the Silicon Valley that are paying close attention.
So what should a specific startup who's going to talk to, let's say, a VC from the United States, what should he do to put his best foot forward and make the best impression?
I think proving that they have a product that will be making money so that the investor will get their investment back is key to achieving funding with the VCs. So.
All right. Daniel, would you like to add some tips for startups who are potentially fundraising in maybe United States or Western Europe?
Yeah, one of the first things that I would suggest to do is to look at some of the funds that might be in the U.S. that have invested in the region, and look at what brought them to there, right? Find the people that were, let's say, founders of those companies in the region, and get an introduction through them. I mean, an introduction through them is going to make a big difference. The other thing is I think more than looking for funding in a larger market like the US or the UK, I think there's an incredible opportunity to focus on things that you can do that would be bootstrapped, that can actually get to revenue without needing capital. So the capital is not focused on building, but the capital is focused on expansion and growth. And there's so many opportunities out there where you can go and get a little bit of attraction. Where I see a lot of potential here, in a market, for example, like Belarus, one of the greatest potentials that I see is really in business to business, not really in the consumer side, because consumer is so difficult. It's so difficult to break out. It requires a lot of marketing. Find a partner, align with a large software developer, a large company with a platform that they have, and find gaps in that with the customers, and try to solve some of those gaps in between this. One, you have a partner that has wide distribution that can actually support you in the marketing and move out that way. And the other thing is that gets you someone that is a target for acquisition in what it is you're doing. If you're a very, very smart team, a company like that isn't going to care where you are. It's just about the quality of the problem that how you're solving a specific problem.
Cool. Well, Elena, you meet hundreds of startups, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's like my hour now. Yeah, guys. So actually, like speaking again about yesterday, I participated in the pitch session, and I've seen 10 startups, then I've seen here startups, and maybe I've understood once again what is the disadvantage of being an engineer. Guys, please, before you pitch, try to formulate in one sentence what you do. There are so many startups which just cannot explain what they do, or you just sit and do not understand what the pitch is about. So just, well, try to explain to everybody what you do in a simple, normal language. It will save your time and our time. And then secondly, what always like a big problem to a venture capital fund is that you do not show us any traction at all. So you come with an idea and say, okay, it's a great idea, just give us 3 million. And that's all. And we like built a 1 billion company. That's awesome. But please just do some homework. Just, I don't know, try to raise some money from your friends, family, some business angels, and only afterwards go to a venture capital fund. Because many startups from our regions, from Russia, Belarus, Lithuania, and the Baltics, they do not have still this culture of this business angel investing, seed investing, and they go straight forward to venture capital funds. Just do some homework. Just try to show some traction. Do homework at your local market, and then try to raise money for expansion. So that's just two small tips from my side.
All right. So just to finish fundraising, Mindaugas, would you like to add what should startups prepare?
No, look, I think a lot has been said, and really I subscribe to that as well. I think yesterday was an interesting day to watch those pitches. They were all so different, but I think, Elena, you mentioned, it's so cool when at the very beginning, you know, the person who pitches says what they want to achieve, what it will do to somebody who is the potential customer. I mean, yeah, it's cool maybe to show pictures of half-naked girls and stuff like that, but sorry, I mean, you are not here to just impress how cool you are, but you are here looking for money. Now, nobody will part with, you know, that money from fund unless they understand how this money will come back into their pocket in a much, much larger amount. This is what this business is about. So unless you are able to let the representative of a fund to, you know, describe and understand what you're doing and how this will earn money, I would say, no, just don't do it. Don't waste your time. Come to events like this, watch how people do it, draw your own conclusions. I think yesterday it was obvious who's done it well and who's just, you know, done it for the fun of it.
So that was our 2 cents for fundraising. And coming back to great tech talent we have here in Lithuania and Belarus, and Andrei, maybe you, for example, having experience of working with Americans and many other companies, could share a couple of tips for how to, well, maybe firstly find great talent in Belarus and how to work with, for example, programmers and other technical people from Belarus.
At first, about the startups from USA, to working, for example, with Belarusian developers, allow them to focus on the marketing and don't worry about the technical issues. So, of course, when they grow, they will hire developers locally, they will work technically more deep, but at first stage, some of them prefer to outsource technical part and working on the marketing, PR, and seeking venture capital, etc.
All right, thanks.
I have an idea about Belarusians and how to involve them in your Lithuanian, let's say, projects. What I saw from friends of mine or just from common people in Belarus, from these guys who won, who was the first at university in programming, but afterwards they had an invitation from Google, but they said, no, I will not go because I have to pay my government back and I will work in a small village for a few years just to pay money back because I studied for free. So what I see, what Belarusian youth lacking, they lack understanding, they lack the idea what they will get from that cooperation with European Union, with states, with all foreign colleagues or investors or whoever, because most of Belarusian people, they never participated even in such kind of events and they do not really aware what is happens outside, because it's still a bit culture of this post-Soviet Union where people are not really ready to go out that much as you Americans doing. You study how to present yourselves at school and we do not know it as even when we grow. So here is a big gap, and I think who will first build a bridge between this gap, he will win a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. So, and then switching from, Nastya, do you want to add something? Or switching from tech talent to marketing and business development talent. David, maybe you could share some tips how a Lithuanian startup or a Belarus startup could potentially attract marketeer from United States or a business developer from United States.
Well, you're going to have to take advantage of the internet, clearly. Getting yourself up on every social media website that is out there, that's just common sense. taking advantage of certain channels that are out there like AdWords. You can practice some search engine optimization, but I always like it when somebody's company blog links to a major industry blogger somewhere in Silicon Valley, and it gets their attention, and then they start a relationship back and forth. There's little tips that you can do just to get the movers and shakers' attention, and then you can form a dialogue that can develop into something greater than that. So, but your location is going to necessitate that you use a lot of internet marketing and employ some of the standard social media channels.
Cool, thanks a lot. So, I think we're coming close to the end of our discussion panel. Guys, if you want to ask any questions, the discussion panel participant is going to be right here, and we're going to have our speed networking session right here straight after the panel, which is going to happen now. So everyone, just thank everyone for